Hey, so today I'd like to go over how many points each piece is worth and how it moves. And to be doing this, I'll use an analogy that I think both kids and adults can understand pretty well. So the analogy is that the chess pieces together are like a bagged lunch one would take to work or to school. Now, the bag itself, or the hard lunch tin, is the king. The king is the most valuable piece on the chessboard because when you lose the king, you lose the game. When you lose the bag containing the lunch, you lose the entire food. All your foods are no longer available to you. So the king is super heavy, similar to how the bag itself is full of food, it's heavy. So he can only move one square at a time. He's worth infinite points. When you lose your king, or in actual terms you get checkmated, you lose the game. Next is the queen. She's worth 9 points. What's the most important thing in your lunch? Probably the dessert. So she's your Reese's, she's your chocolate chip cookie, she's your carrot cake if you're into that. She's at 9 points, and you do not want to lose her unless you're trading her or getting at least 9 points of value. She can go diagonally or straight, very long distances or short distances. What's the next most important piece? The rook. The rook is worth 5 points. What's an important thing in your lunch besides the dessert and the bag itself? How about the sandwich or the protein, the chicken or the tofu or the roast beef or the peanuts? The rook is a protein, and it goes straight. It can go long distances or short distances. 5 points. Next is the knight. Knights are going to be fruit. They are worth 3 points, and they move kind of tricky. They go 2 in one direction and then 1 in another. They go 2 in one direction and 1 in another, kind of like an L. So they're short range pieces. Next we have the bishop. The bishop moves diagonally. It's 3 points. It's kind of like a vegetable because the fruit is worth 3, a vegetable is worth 3. And the bishop looks like a lot of vegetables, like carrots are kind of straight and slice, celery. So I think it's a good analogy for the bishop. The final piece, a pawn, is only worth 1 point, but you have 8 of them. So what do you have a lot of that isn't worth that much? Well, maybe these are the things that your parents pack or your wife packs or your husband packs or you pack that you don't really like eating. If that, we've covered most of the things here: proteins, vegetables, fruits, desserts. So let me think of something I don't really like that much. You know what I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be the liquid. I think it's going to be your drink. Because even if you like it, like let's say it's water, and you have to drink it, the whole point is you need it. It structures your meal. You know, you need it to swallow the food. And pawns are worth 1. They go 2 on their first turn or 1. 2 or 1 on their first turn, and then 1 on all subsequent turns. And they're the only piece that takes differently than they move. They capture diagonally. And when they get to the end, they can turn into pieces, usually queens. Usually queens. So, yeah. They take diagonally, move forward, they can never move backwards, whereas everything else can move backwards. So that's a really rough overview. But it just is interesting to think of each piece as something in a lunch, whether that be the sack itself, the protein and sandwich, the dessert, or the vegetables or the fruits, or the drink. And you know, the pawns are the shakiest, but each pawn is kind of like a sip of water. You know, they structure your meal, they structure your position, but they're not the most exciting part of the meal. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.